They didn't fire me. They erased me. 1 minute I was logged into the company network. The next minute, my credentials failed. My name vanished from the internal directory. My email bounced back as user not found. 5 years of loyalty, gone with a single command. My name is Joseph. I am a cybersecurity professional. Here is my story. That day, I remember staring at my screen in disbelief. My badge stopped working that same afternoon. Security didn't look me in the eyes when they escorted me out. One of them whispered, "It's corporate orders." Corporate orders. That was the first time I understood something brutal. In the tech world, you don't just lose your job. You lose your access. And when they control the system, they control your existence. But what they didn't know, I built half that system. And they had just made the biggest mistake of their lives. I used to believe in Nexera Dynamics. That was the company's name. A fast-growing tech giant promising secure cloud solutions for modern businesses. I was their lead back-end architect. Quiet. Focused. Loyal. I didn't care about office politics. I cared about clean code. Stable servers. Ethical security. But Nexera didn't care about ethics. They cared about profit. 3 months before they erased me, I discovered something disturbing. They were selling customer data. Not publicly. Not officially. But quietly. Encrypted files were being mirrored to a shadow server every night at 2:13 a.m. At first, I thought it was a backup. It wasn't. It was extraction. When I confronted my manager, Victor Hale, he smiled like I had just complimented him. "You're brilliant," he said. "But brilliance doesn't need to ask so many questions." 2 weeks later, I was locked out. My apartment lease, owned by a subsidiary linked to Nexera, was suddenly under review. My rent increased overnight. I wasn't just fired. I was squeezed. They wanted me scared. They wanted me silent. Instead, they made me angry. It wasn't about money. It was about humiliation. They sent an internal memo saying I left due to performance instability. Performance instability. I had built their firewall architecture. I had patched vulnerabilities that saved them millions. And now they painted me as the weak link. Friends at the company stopped replying. One of them texted me privately. "They're monitoring everything." I'm sorry. Monitoring everything. That line stuck with me. Because I knew something they forgot. I designed their monitoring tools. I knew exactly how they watched people. And more importantly, I knew where they were blind. You see, no system is perfect. Even the strongest fortress has a back door. And sometimes, the person who built the door keeps a copy of the key. I didn't want to destroy lives. I wanted truth. But truth in the tech world doesn't spread through speeches. It spreads through exposure. Step 1 was simple. Reconnaissance. I rented a tiny studio apartment across town. Cheap Wi-Fi. Old furniture. No digital trail linked to Nexera. I built a separate machine. Fresh hardware. Clean operating system. Then I waited. Every corporation runs on automation. Scripts. Schedules. Silent processes ticking like clocks. At 2:13 a.m., the shadow server activated again. I intercepted the outgoing packet stream. There it was. Customer data flowing to an offshore storage cluster. Unreported. Unsecured. Illegal. My heart pounded, but my hands were calm. I didn't shut it down. Not yet. Revenge isn't about impulse. It's about timing. I started mapping their infrastructure. Redundant nodes. Failover systems. Backup power grids. They were confident. Too confident. Because while they upgraded their security against outsiders, they never expected an insider to come back. The first move was subtle. I triggered a harmless system overload in their analytics dashboard. Nothing destructive. Just a flood of fake traffic routed through an internal testing channel they forgot to disable. At 9:02 a.m., their live metrics panel froze during an investor demo. I watched the live stream. Victor's smile twitched. Their CEO blamed unexpected external interference. External. I almost laughed. No one suspected internal architecture flaws. That's the beauty of precision. You don't smash the glass. You weaken the frame. Over the next week, small failures stacked up. Customer support portal offline for 12 minutes. Cloud storage lag spikes. Authentication delays. Nothing dramatic. Just enough to shake confidence. Stock analysts started asking questions. And Nexera? They hired a cybersecurity firm. Millions spent. But they were looking outside the walls. I was already inside. Then they escalated. My landlord, connected to Nexera's property arm, sent me a final notice. Eviction in 14 days. No explanation. Just pressure. They wanted me unstable. Desperate. But pressure does something strange to people like me. It sharpens us. That night, I made a decision. If they wanted control, I would show them how fragile control really is. I accessed a dormant admin credential. One I built during early infrastructure development. It was supposed to be deleted. It wasn't. Through that channel, I found everything. Internal emails. Executive discussions. Proof they knew about the data siphoning. Proof they planned to blame me if it surfaced. That was their real plan. Erase me. Then frame me. I wasn't just fighting greed. I was fighting a narrative. And I was done playing defense. The annual Nexera Global Summit was their biggest event of the year. Live streamed worldwide. New product launches. Security guarantees. Trust campaigns. Victor was on stage when it happened. Right when he said, "Our systems are unbreakable." The screen behind him flickered. Then froze. Then switched. Instead of their logo, a live display of the shadow server transactions appeared. Time-stamped. Verified. Undeniable. Gasps filled the auditorium. Investors leaned forward. Victor turned pale. I routed the data not to destroy their system, but to expose it publicly. Simultaneously, I triggered an automated compliance alert to federal regulators. All legal. All documented. Within minutes, trading on Nexera stock paused. Their infrastructure began shutting down automatically under regulatory lockout. Not hacked. Not crashed. Frozen by their own violations. Victor grabbed the mic. This is sabotage. No. It was truth. And truth is heavier than sabotage. You'd think that's where the story ends. But here's the part no one knows. I didn't act alone. Remember the friend who texted me? They're monitoring everything. He wasn't scared. He was warning me. Inside Nexera, 5 engineers had quietly reached out after I disappeared. They had seen the corruption too. They just didn't know how to fight it. I gave them structure. They gave me access. When the exposure happened, it wasn't revenge from one angry engineer. It was a coordinated stand from the very people Nexera believed were loyal. Victor resigned within 48 hours. The CEO claimed ignorance. Investigations are still ongoing. And me? I received an email from a federal compliance division. Not as a suspect. As a protected whistleblower. But here's the final twist. Weeks later, I learned something shocking. My firing? It wasn't just to silence me. It was to test how easily they could erase anyone. They had done it before. Quietly. I was just the first one who fought back. I didn't celebrate. I didn't throw a party. I packed my apartment quietly before the eviction date. Because the eviction notice? It disappeared. Property division suddenly corrected an error. Of course they did. Public pressure changes attitudes. Former Nexera employees started messaging me. Thank you. You said what we couldn't. The 5 engineers and I started something new. A small cybersecurity firm. Transparent policies. Open audits. No shadow servers. No hidden clauses. Just clean systems. It's smaller. Slower. But honest. And sometimes, that's the greatest revenge of all. People think revenge is about destruction. It isn't. It's about exposure. Nexera thought technology gave them power. But technology doesn't create power. People do. And the same systems used to control can be used to reveal. When they deleted me from their system, they thought I would disappear. But being erased forced me to see something clearly. If your value depends on someone else's server, you are never secure. Now, when I log into my own company dashboard, I smile. Because this time, no one can delete me. And if they ever try again, I know exactly where the blind spots are. And so do you.